Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to discuss the return of the injured players at Real Madrid. Now, as you all know, last season our year was derailed by the plague of injuries that Real Madrid suffered, the likes of Militao, the likes of Carvajal, and the usual suspects, David Alaba and Ferland. But it does seem that some of them are set to return. So what can we expect to see from those players? I'll get the first one out of the way really quickly. Kylian Mbappe. He's coming back from a rather minor setback. He was ill. We've all seen the pictures. He's lost a considerable amount of weight, but it won't take him too long with the correct training, the correct dietitian to get back to his best. So I think that we're okay on that front, touch wood. The next one, well, I'm going to deal with these two together actually, and it's Militao and Carvajal. And the reason that I'm dealing with these together is because the two of them are coming back from incredibly difficult and complex injuries. Now, in the case of Militao, this is the second ACL injury that he suffered, and this can go one of two ways. It can be a recurrence, and which could signal the end of his career, or he could come back. He could put it behind him and move on. The likes of Florian Wirtz, for example. Florian Wirtz suffered an ACL injury, and thankfully he hasn't had a recurrence. But more often than not, this does seem to be quite a big issue, and it might be an unpopular take, but I thought that we saw some weaknesses in Militao's game. I know that a lot of people tend to bill him as one of the best centre-backs in the world, or they did at least before he got injured, but I was always a little bit hesitant. I always thought that he was quite rash in the challenge, and yes, he's commanding, he's an imposing figure, he's strong, he wins his headers, a little bit like a Gabriel at Arsenal, but I did think the amount of times that you saw him rush out of defence, go through the back of someone, pick up a cheap yellow card, I think that's definitely a weakness in his game. And for me, it was a frustration watching him. The word is that he wants to reclaim his starting spot in the team. But if I'm honest, I'm not dropping Rudiger or Howson for this guy. So maybe he makes it into a three at the back. But even then, I'd be looking at other options. I'm just not convinced by him. I think that he's a walking liability. I really do. So it's unlikely that we're going to be able to sell him this summer because teams will be hesitant. They'll want to see if he can get a run of games under his belt. So expect to see him as part of the squad, but whether he gets back that starting spot, who knows? I'm not so sure, and if I had it my way, I'm definitely going with Rudiger and Howson ahead of him. The next one is Dani Carvajal. He's a legend of the team, and he was very close to winning a Ballon d'Or. I say very close because he wasn't really, but he was definitely near the top, wasn't he? And a lot of people thought that after all of the accolades that he'd won on a team level, that he could be in the running. Nevertheless, despite his legendary status, the amount of years he's been at Madrid, the trophies he's won, I still believe that there are weaknesses in his game that cannot be ignored. And I think that these were exposed by Barcelona time and time again. The likes of Balde, for example, I almost felt that it reminded me a little bit of what Gareth Bale did to Maicon all those years ago in the San Siro, where he ran past him all those times, scoring those goals. He got a hat-trick in the San Siro, and he effectively ended Maicon's career. There's no coming back from that. He was burnt for pace, and the same thing has been done to Carvajal time and time again. He does struggle with pacey wingers. We've seen it in recent years when Mbappe was playing for Paris Saint-Germain, for example. As much as we like to roast Lucas Vazquez, Dani Carvajal has been roasted quite a few times down that side. Having said that, he's the consummate professional. He always shows up. He gives everything for Real Madrid. So I believe that there is a place for him in this side. Expect him to rotate, but definitely expect Trent Alexander-Arnold to have that nailed down starting spot, because as much as we adore our legends, sometimes you just have to move on and call a day a day. Now, the next one, Eduardo Camavinga. We could be looking at a make or break season for him. Is he going to fulfill his potential and be the player that everyone wants him to be? Or is he going to have another year like this one just gone? Because this one just gone was a complete write-off. Injured for majority of the season. Who can really say that Camavinga pushed on this season? It's impossible because he just wasn't there to play the games. Will he get a run of games in the side? Even that isn't guaranteed because you've got others ahead of him. Tchouaméni, for example, is in great form. Valverde, unlikely to be dropped. Bellingham, okay, fine. He misses the initial part of the season. But then you've got the likes of Arda, who's been playing phenomenally well. And suddenly, it looks difficult to get Camavinga in the side. Now, the season is long. You will need to rotate players, so there's definitely an availability to him. Carlo Ancelotti spoke about him. He spoke about him as a player who worked well, worked his best when the game was broken. And what he meant by that is he'd put him on in the second half when players were starting to get tired, and Camavinga would exploit that. He was very good at carrying the ball forward. He's got bundles of energy. He can exploit their fatigue. But this is also a little bit of a knock because it also translates to you can't start games. I don't trust you to start these big games. Considering the number of years that he's been at Real Madrid, this is still the case. He hasn't been starting the biggest of games, unless you count the times where he's had to play at left back, for example, in an emergency scenario. I do believe that this season is definitely the breaking point for Camavinga. Does he make it or does he not? Because if he is able to get a few games, but he proves that he's not quite got that level, then next summer you sell him. I don't think that you'd have a great market for him this summer. Now, I could be wrong on that. It might be the surprise departure, but I just don't see it. I think we'll still see Camavinga at Real Madrid this coming season. I would talk about Mondi and Alaba, but I think that they're both lost causes. I'd get rid of them tomorrow if I could, so I'm not going to waste any time on that. But let me know your thoughts. Where do you see these players? Do you think that there is a market for some of them, perhaps? Do you think that they will be a crucial part of the team moving forward? Fringe players, how do you see their development? Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and if you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Take care.